Welcome everyone to our new YouTube video for today. We're the DimitrovBoelee piano duo. My name is Dimitrov.
My name is Boelee.
And today we're going to talk to you about the famous Nocturne by Chopin, op.9, number 2 in E flat major. Today we would like to discuss in particular the left hand of this piece because it has a very interesting way of moving. We have a bass note and a very big distance between the bass note and the first interval. After the interval, we actually have a chord. And so if you don't know how to practice this left hand, you won't be able to play it very fluently, very smooth. And that can cause, of course, the piece to sound not good. It can sound choppy, your left hand can sound too heavy, and it can overpower also your right hand, which is a very gentle musical line. And that's why we really advise that you work on your left hand, because everything, the whole piece will benefit from it. The first thing we would like to talk to you about today is the fingering. That's very important because we have a lot of different bass notes. First of all, we have a bass note, then we have a lot of different intervals. And after those intervals, we have a lot of variety of chords. And so if you don't have a consistent fingering, you will be so preoccupied every time trying to figure out with what finger to play the different notes that you won't have any attention left, any focus left for anything else.
A consistent fingering also triggers your muscle memory, something that's very important with this piece. You have many different changing chords and you will need to remember a lot of them because you don't have the time to read every time again. Remembering the chords in the left hand gives you a lot of relaxation and also space to focus on the right hand, which has such a beautiful musical line.
So let's look a little bit at the patterns. Mainly, we'll have this bass note at the beginning, which we can take usually with the fifth finger. Most of the time it will be fifth finger. After that, we have an interval which can mainly be taken with 2 and 5. So that's very, very simple because most of the time we'll be using this fingering. And then we have a chord which we can use 4, 2, and 1. I said the majority of the time, like most of the time you can use those fingering, but if you look at the second bar at this chord, then you will see that actually the chord is smaller. And so instead of using 4, 2, and 1, in this case, I'm going to use actually 3, 2, and 1. Because as you can see from my hands, the chord is smaller. I don't need really to use 4, 2, and 1 because otherwise my hand gets a little bit cramped in very tight space. And so that's the exception here. And so after this place where I said 3, 2, and 1, we go back to a standard bass with 5 and then 2, 5 and 4, 2, 1. Just a standard fingering like before. Now let's look at one more exception. Let's have a look at bar number 3. And so if you look at bar number 3, we start as usual, what I mentioned, 2 and 5 and 4, 2 and 1. But then we're starting to look at this chord, which is again a small one, a smaller than usual. So we'll be using 3, 2, and 1 again, fingering. Then we proceed to the next one, this chord. And there we would also use 3, 2, and 1. And then after that, when we move to the next, this chord, again we'll be using 3, 2, and 1. So as you can see, we often will have those exceptions. That's why we said it's very important to actually write down your fingering.
So even though we have some cases that we use the same fingering, as Dimitar pointed out, we have quite some exceptions. And that's why it's a good idea to run through the whole left hand separately, writing down fingering wherever you're doubting or wherever you wouldn't know in an instant. You really wouldn't want to think about the fingering while you're trying to practice the piece with both hands.
The second thing we would like to talk to you about today is the movement of the left hand between the bass and the first interval, this. Did you actually see how my hand moves after the bass note? Very fast and efficient, and my hand is ready to play the interval after the bass note. Then again, you see the movement here. So I'm constantly moving between the bass and the first interval.
Not only does Dimitar prepare very quickly and very much on time, there's actually another thing involved, and that is stopping the momentum. So we very often see students, when they're making big jumps, they take the momentum from that jump and immediately bang onto the chord. And as we said at the beginning of the video, this is such a delicate musical piece that you don't want any kind of banging in the left hand. And that banging can be very easily achieved because the jump is large, you get a large momentum. So your first step would be to make a good preparation, to be there on time, but your second step will be to immediately stop the momentum that you've gathered. So prepare on time and stop the momentum. Don't make one movement immediately to there. It's two movements. You prepare, you stop, you play.
This particular movement is very important for your technique and your comfort. Your technique will be much better because you will be efficient. Efficiency is always very important. You'll be able to play softer. After that, you won't bang the chord or the interval like Elvira mentioned, and that's of course good technique. And also it feels comfortable. It's very comfortable to be prepared in advance and actually know what you have to play. And actually one of the most important things and the most obvious is actually not playing wrong note. Because if you don't prepare on time and if you just move and land on the interval, it can be actually the wrong interval. And so to avoid this, you basically have to just prepare a little sooner, a little faster, just for the movement.
Now let's take a look at an exercise that we can do to train this kind of habit. We're going to do the stop that I was talking about before to stop the momentum, but we're just going to exaggerate it a lot so that you can get used to. So we're going to isolate exactly those places with the large jumps, which will be here, 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 and here, and in every bar it's the same pattern. So let's take a look at how that's going to be. So we're going to play the bass note, prepare very quickly, stop all momentum, and when you stopped on momentum, you'll play it and continue on. Again, play the bass note, prepare very quickly, stop all momentum, and then play on. And the same for every chord after.
Now Elvira showed you one bar, but of course feel free to do this for the whole piece. You don't need to stick to only one bar. We just have to show you an example, of course.
And this particular technique, preparing very quickly but slowing down or stopping the momentum altogether, is actually necessary, something that we use with all jumps in any piece.
And so to sum up our video, what we have to do always with this piece is have proper fingering. We need to decide on the fingering and play it always the same. And we have to work on our movement between this big distance between the bass note and the first interval. If you have more questions about this piece or any other piece, as always, feel free to contact us. The score, by the way, that we're using will be uploaded and you will see the link in the description box below.
Feel free to check out our full-length courses on Skillshare and Udemy. In our description box below, we'll give you a nice discount, as well as the Skillshare classes offer you a 2-month free premium membership, which means that you can watch all our courses there, as well as all the other courses on Skillshare for 2 months for free.
We're also on Instagram and Facebook, so you can also follow us there. Now, if you like this video, we'll be very happy if you give us a like, and if you want to follow our channel, just subscribe so you can be notified when a new video is uploaded, which is every Sunday. For us, making this video was a pleasure. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.